And good evening, everyone. Welcome to another OSR Tabletop with myself, DM Bloodworth, or in this case, GM Bloodworth, since I am not going to be talking about any specific game. Um, as you can tell by the title of this live stream, keeping politics out of gaming, in particular, or in example, convention space. So, I recently came across a community post within the last hour or so, and when I came across it, I was not anticipating doing a live stream based off of it. But as it started to really sink in, um, and being the fact that I have been focusing so much on just getting prepared for conventions and strongly encouraging people to go to the conventions. This particular community post that I came across just struck me as being just so negative and toxic even for our common interest in tabletop role playing games, our common interest in being able to go to a convention for the purpose of interacting with one another, whether we're going as players or we're going as game masters or special guests or vendors or whatnot. And this kind of message to put out there, to me, is just so counterproductive to what virtually everybody else is looking to do. Just struck me as something that I had to air. I had to come out and at least speak about it. Let me check my chat and see who is in. I do apologize for the, 30 less than 30-minute notice of this. This is how pressing this issue really struck me. So I will say hello to everyone. So a hello to Roll for Tarako. I hope I pronounced that right. Uh, RPG Dad, hey, how's it going? And Decado, hey, how's it going? Um, Again, like I said, I apologize for the almost no notice for this. And like I said, it's something that I really put a lot of importance in, and that is the convention space. And when I'm talking about keeping politics out of the convention space, I'm talking about all politics. I'm talking about, it doesn't matter if you voted the way I did, or you voted the opposite way, or you didn't vote at all, or to me, when I'm going to a convention, whether I'm a special guest or not, or if I'm running, 12 hours or more of game sessions, and so I didn't pay for my badge, I'm still going at an expense, right? I have to travel there, I have to pay for the hotel, and so it's a several $100 expense. It is a dedication of time that is a full weekend, if not more, of time dedicated to it. And the last thing that I want to do is deal with some kind of just toxic, negative attitude, bringing that into the convention space where it really has no place for it. I don't think anyone, and you could disagree with me if you like or not, but I don't think anyone is, packing up their bags to go to a convention and say, "Oh, I really hope to be an agitator. I really hope to go there and forget about anything that's going on with forget about anything that's going on with gaming. I'm going to go there for the sole purpose of acting the asshole." So um, that's what really got me, sparked up on this and looking at it. I'm like, this is just not the place. So I am not going to share the person's name or their YouTube channel. I'm just going to put the post up, and it's only one image. There were several other options. If you know who it is and what YouTube channel it's coming from, don't reach out to them. Don't go say anything on their on their space or whatever. But I'm just going to show the image that sparked my disdain. Let's put it that way. So let me share screen, and I am going to. So here we go. So all it says here is looking for potential new shirts to wear to conventions for 2025 until Trump puts me in the gas chamber, or 2028, whichever happens first. Yes, I'm being optimistic. He should have said, unhinged and hyperbolic, but or hyperbolic, I should say. We still have elections. Which do you like best? Any other recommendations? So there was about four of these. I'm just showing the first one. It's the same comment for each one on top anyway. All right. And I mean, I just imagine the mindset that you have to be in, that you're going to go into a space that everyone had spent hundreds of dollars and likely countless hours to travel to and to stay for 3 or 3.5 days, whatever it happens to be, and going there full of encouragement that you're going to have an enjoyable time, and you get someone like this showing up wearing a shirt. And like I said, I they could have the let's go Brandon t-shirt, or something about Kamala Harris in a negative light as well. It doesn't make a difference to me which side of the political spectrum you land on. We're all going to the convention to enjoy ourselves and to have not just a bit of escapism. I don't want that to sound too cliche, that we're going there just to be gamers. We're going there to interact with other individuals with a common interest in gaming. We're going there to meet and meet new people. We're going there to meet people that we hold as icons in the tabletop role playing industry. And we're also going there, certainly adults are going there realizing that, yeah, not everyone that I'm going to interact with is going to have my same political beliefs or whatever. But, and that's perfectly fine that we don't. But that's not the purpose of this convention. And that's something that everyone should be leaving their politics at the door and just coming in and just looking to engage and play, or to run a game, or to stand on a line and get an autograph of someone that you're excited to meet for the first time. So it's and I'll stop sharing. I'll go back here. So it's just something that is so toxic, in my opinion, to go to a convention looking to stir the pot and looking to bring that kind of negativity with you to a convention space where, again, you have to acknowledge that people going to a convention are looking to enjoy themselves. And how does that promote enjoyment? It's an honest question. How is having that mindset to go into the place? You're going into a place filled with negativity, and you're not going to have a positive experience yourself, because I'm sure if you're wearing a political shirt like that, just imagine if you get no response to it, then you're going to probably be like, oh, damn, I feel like a fool, having worn this. Or if you do get a lot of encouragement, just think about what it does to those that don't believe that. They're going to not want to associate with you or whatever. It just doesn't make sense. It's not bringing to the table something positive. Now, I'm not a convention organizer, and I'm not going to tell anyone, as a convention organizer, how they should react to this. But I would hope that they might at least pull the person aside and say, you know what, that's not really welcome here. Um, and hopefully the person has the sense to say, you know what, this was probably not a well thought out idea, and go and change their shirt. Um, you know that's just me. Let me get to some comments here. Um, hey, Grognard Piper and Edens. Hey, how's it going? Most smaller conventions are good. Larger ones like Gen Con had devs and attendees barred from entry for having the wrong politics back to 2018. Yeah, it's again, it's if you have devs and attendees, at those large cons. I mean, yeah, I get it that a large con can't control who shows up wearing whatever they're wearing. Um, Again, they shouldn't be projecting a political leaning one way or the other if they're a convention organizer. I would say the same thing for a convention organizer. If a convention organizer is promoting this kind of exclusivity, then that's not a convention I would look to attend to either. And again, regardless of which political side of the spectrum they're coming from, I would not go to a convention that said, hey, all these 5e players are not allowed to attend, or modern players, or if you have blue hair you can't come in, or if you're wearing a MAGA hat you can't come in, or if you're this kind of thing is something that, if it's coming from the convention organizer, I would say that they should be across the board. No politics should come in. So that's the one place where a convention, organizing committee should really stand, in my opinion. They should be like, no, we're going to bar any political speech from coming in here. Um, you know, the country is divided, right? And so, elections have been going the last couple of years now, the last couple of cycles now. The elections have been going basically, 51 to 49 or so. So, as a business proposition, it's not a very smart one either. And we've seen more than a few companies or businesses that have gone out of business because of this kind of exclusionary type policy that they're doing. So, I mean, it's just go to a convention with the best intentions, in your mind and in your heart. Go there looking to have a good time and play some games or run some games or meet people that you really wish you're really hoping to meet, possibly for the first time. Maybe you're seeing friends that you've been playing online with, and now this is your opportunity to meet them in person. And that is going to be something that's going to really supercharge your excitement about going. And then you get there and you find out that there are people that are wearing these kinds of political shirts, and and whatnot, and just causing issues, creating drama where it's not needed. Yeah, it is about attention, and it's about, oh, look how, let's see how edgy I can be, and see what I can, you know how I can stir this pot, because it's certainly not an intention to go there and make it a positive experience. And it's not going to be a positive experience for you either, because you are most likely going to get some pushback for wearing something like that, at a convention space, even if the convention runners uh, agree with you on the outside, it's not good for their business on the inside. So, again, just keep the politics out. Allow people to go to a convention and to enjoy themselves, and allow them to, meet new people without having to, worry about or get into these conflicts or arguments over nonsense that has nothing to do with gaming. So let me continue on here. Gen Con barred the old TSR people as well, because WotC just assumed their political biases. Yeah, and to be honest with you, many of many of those are actually very left leaning. Many of the old TSR people are very left leaning, and um, and it's not a but when it comes to gaming, they ran their games. I've been in their games, right? And they run their games with anybody that is, sitting at their table, as if there's no politics in their mind or heart at all. They're running their game the way that they would normally run their game with their closest friends. I've been in Frank Metzner's table. I've been at Alan Hammock's table. I am looking to be at Jeb Cook's table, and looking to be at other tables of other individuals as well, that are people that are on YouTube or whatever, that probably have a different political stance than I do, and I couldn't care less. I really couldn't care less. I only care about having a great gaming experience. And when people come to my table, I don't care less. I couldn't care less what their identity is or what their political beliefs are. The only thing I care about is that they're coming to the table looking to play the game as it is presented, looking to have a great experience with the other players at the table, and and hopefully to just enjoy the entire thing, and then move on to their next table with a fond memory of what happened at that table at that time. So it's not like there should be a political litmus test as to who sits at your table, especially in a convention space. Now, if you want to close off your home table, that is your home. You're entitled to do whatever you want at your home. But when you're going into the convention space, being mindful of the fact that everyone there has spent hundreds of dollars in order to be there. All right. And the last thing they want is to have a bad taste left in their mouth over some encounter with someone again wearing a very absurd type of T-shirt, or whether it's a hat or whatnot. I personally would not wear a MAGA hat at a convention space. I certainly wouldn't, because again, it's introducing politics to that space. Just like I wouldn't wear a any other political stating position at all either. So it's just now how some people that say, oh, if you're wearing a U.S. Army veteran hat, that's a political statement, which I don't typically think of it that way. But if that were the case, I mean, I've been in situations where on a college campus where it was like, you know what, you really shouldn't project so much that you're in the military. Because when I was in college, I happened to be in the military at the same time, and it was just that time and the location of the college that I was at, or the university I was at, and it wasn't the best of times for returning military back, and I'm not even talking about like the level of Vietnam era. I'm talking about us returning back from Desert Storm. Some college campuses were not very open to us, to be honest with you. So, but again, it's not like I would have gone onto that campus in uniform, even though I was certainly entitled to do so, and basically thumb it in their eye. But it's just um, when you're going to a gaming convention, it's a totally different situation, um, and we should all be able to come together and just play the games that we enjoy playing. I'll get to some more of your comments here. All right, you take care, Grognard. You have a good one. Yes, you will watch this on playback, which will usually they go up pretty fast, actually, so it won't be too long. Let's see. I think organizers being political is a self-correcting issue for the most part. Um, well, yeah, the effect of it will be self-correcting, right? It will certainly harm them, I think, in the number of people that will stop going. Um, if I had I wouldn't feel very welcome in certain large conventions that are that you know people might be aware of who I am and what basically how I am very tied to the OSR and pushing the OSR and very anti Wizards of the Coast and everything. So I doubt that I could go to a Gen Con and not have some pushback on that. That's gaming, though. That's not politics. That's just a different relationship within gaming and the gaming industry. So again, it's not pushing a political agenda or whatnot. So here we go. Hey, how's it going, Mark? So I play with anybody, even in a regular gaming group, so long as they leave the stuff at home. I'm conservative, but I've played with people way out there. I don't care. Just leave it at home. Yeah, I have the same thing. It's like um, I don't know the voting habits of my players. I don't know. The only assumption I make is that they are probably different from my own. Maybe some are the same, so I don't make any assumptions, and I don't care. It makes no difference to me as long as it doesn't become something that involves time in our game session. If someone wants to chat before or after the game session, fine. But to but for it to happen during the game session or at the table or whatever is just inappropriate. It's not the time for it. Um, Hey, the Ultra American TTRPGer, and greetings, welcome. So, if you're just popping in now, I shared a community post, a picture, an image, and a question of, you know, I'm looking for a T-shirt to wear to conventions in 2025, and if anybody has any other suggestions, and it was a very political, negative T-shirt to present, at a convention and to wear at a convention, and to me, that's just not putting gaming first. All right, and it's to me, it's being kind of touristy, right? So you're wearing something that is just not appropriate for the space. It's going in with a negative mindset, and it's pushing an agenda rather than going to the convention space in order to play games or run games or interact with other gaming enthusiasts. It's You're not going to a political convention. You're not going to a rally. You're going to a place that has literally nothing to do with the politics of the real world at hand. You're going there to play games, and to run games. Yes, exactly. You could be very politically opinionized. I mean, I have I have family members. My oldest brother is very, very on the opposite side of the spectrum, political spectrum, than I am, and yet we can still talk, we can still joke around about it, and we can still do this or that. But every once in a while I'll say something that will make him cringe, and once in a while he'll say something that I think is totally absurd. And but we at the end of the day, it's not going to fracture our family over that kind of a thing. And it's certainly not something I'm going to let interfere with my table, or it's not something I'm going to introduce to somebody else's table. To me, that would just be a completely out of bounds thing to do. um, I would never consider going to a convention wearing any political type of merchandising on me, to put out there that hey, this is my stance, and I'm probably expecting that you'll agree with me. It's just bizarre. It's just absolutely bizarre to me to go in there with that kind of a negative attitude. Um, so, by the way, if anyone wants to join in and share, convention experiences, whether it's positive or negative, or if you've never seen this kind of thing before, that's awesome. But I will put up the link if you want to join in. Um, I'm also going to talk about some other topics as well. If anyone wants to bring those up, that's fine too, because actually on the same channel, the person was talking about the OSR is fractured again, which is another bizarre thing. Every once in a while, if two people are arguing, that is not the OSR being fractured or tearing itself apart. It's two people arguing. So it's and that probably goes to um, the the dispute that's taking place between two convention runners over the last couple of weeks. If you've been following that at all, I think it's pretty much died down now. It lasted for a couple of days, and then it basically faded because it's just not that important, to be honest with you. And again, getting back to convention play and convention spaces, people's outlays are just too expensive to waste it with that kind of stuff. It's just not important enough for us to waste our money and time with. When is the OSR not fracturing at this point? Yeah, when is anything not fractured at this point? It's you know you have 10,000 people involved in the OSR, let's say on a any given day. All right, between people playing and running and talking about it and whatnot. And if you can find me 10,000 people and find 100 people within that 10,000 that have exactly the same opinion about everything, I doubt you could even find that many or that few in as large a group as that, anyhow. So it's, you know, the OSR by design is fractured, and the OSR is not a unified, um, a unified thing of players. It's not a unified strain of thought. We argue about the definition of OSR, let alone what it actually is and who participates in it and who doesn't. Um, it's just silly. Hey Roger, how's it going? Getting in late, super busy today. I just came across, I just came across a community post that just irked me. Let's see, I'll use my wife's phrase for it. She's very easily irked at things as well. So I will share this again just to show you, and you can chime in on this opinion, on your opinion on it as well. So I came across this for those of you that did join in a little bit later. So, looking for potential new shirts to wear to conventions from 420, it should be 42025, until Trump puts me in the gas chamber, or 2028, whichever happens first. Yes, I'm being optimistic. We'll still have elections. Which do you like best? Any other recommendations? And so obviously they were all anti-Trump or Republican or whatever t-shirts. I'm only just showing the one, but again, for those of you that are coming in late, I want you just to imagine the mindset of this individual coming to a convention with the intent of wearing this kind of a shirt is just um, it's just so negative. In my view, it's only going to taint their own experience by just getting up in that morning and saying, I'm going to wear this shirt just so I can be, you know, um, just so I can be contentious or edgy or whatever they hope to gain from it. It's not like anyone is going to, give you a standing ovation for wearing that shirt, and or any political shirt. Again, I reiterate, I would not support any political messaging, even if I agreed with it outside of the convention space. I wouldn't agree with it being displayed in a convention space, because that's not our purpose for being there. Our purpose for being there is to play games, run games, and talk to people about games, and not about who they voted for the last time, or any other kind of political beliefs that have nothing to do with the gaming industry. I've asked convention attendees to lose a hat before. Yeah, I mean it's and thank you, Vic, for popping in. And you as a convention organizer, I'm sure that you know You have your personal politics, and they don't come into running your convention, right? It's a, it's not a, it's not something that for a business is a good business move, right? You want to fill tables. You want people to buy badges to come in, and with the country split 50-50, or basically 51-49, or whatever the heck you want to say the ratio is. The bottom line is that they all have money to spend, and you're looking to have them spend it with you. So it's just not a good business model either. So some people are just ridiculous when it comes to politics, both sides too. Yes, like I said, both are equally silly with this kind of thing. We can just be reasonable human beings anymore. Yeah, it's getting harder and harder, which is why I think it's important for us to push back on these kinds of things, especially for our space, our gaming space. I think that gamers in general, should be focusing more on gaming, and push back on any efforts to politicize our gaming space. And the convention space is so much different from your home table in the fact that everyone is spending money to be there, including the convention organizers, right? So everyone is spending money, and it's not cheap to go to, 99% of the conventions. I'm not talking about a small, tiny convention with, under 50 people, and you're staying just at you're spending $10 to get in, and it's a 1 day convention. I'm talking about conventions where, in many cases, people have a hotel stay that's required. They might have driven several hours to get there. The badges are, $80 or 100 or $120 for the 3 days or whatnot, and the and then just the time that it costs to put all of that together, and to actually go there, and to run everything. And that is the that's not what people are going to convention for, is to push some kind of political nonsense. They're looking to go there to game and to have a good time. Yep, leave your politics at the door. Um, I'm hoping that we don't have any issue at Central New York Game Convention, and I'm sure that you probably won't, because other than you're probably a very small number of individuals who think this is kind of an appropriate thing. I think it's probably very small indeed. Uh, I'm just trying to tell people to worry about having fun and gaming and not do anything else. Yeah, exactly. Um, Conventions should be safe spaces for gaming only. Exactly. I don't want to see BLM, Nazi, conservative, liberal, sexual identity flags, nothing like that. You're there to game. Exactly. It's and like I said, I mean, you can wear you could wear the Gadsden flag, and I would be like, no, as an independent, I would still say, no, it's not an appropriate place for you to be pushing any kind of a political messaging, and certainly not negative ones. You know what I'm saying? Now, you'll get some clowns that'll say, "Oh, wearing an American flag is political." Um, we're not talking about that kind of politics. We're talking about negative messaging. So if you're going there with an "Fu Biden" shirt, or or something that is derogatory towards Harris or Trump, or whatever your political bent is, I would still say the same way. It has no place for that. Um, So yeah, again, I agree. That they should be safe spaces for gaming only. That's how I run my own table. I run my own table and I have at least one player here at in the chat here now, and he knows that at my table we're gaming. We're not doing anything else. We're just gaming, and that's just our focus is to play. I've never of any of my players, and I probably have about 12 or 12 or so active players, 12 or so active players in my gaming right now that I've never once asked them who they voted for. I've certainly never asked them what their sexual orientation is, or their, or anything other than that. I mean, I do have two females in my gaming group, and again, it never becomes an issue that they're the only two females in the group either. They're just as welcomed as any of the other guys in the group, and they that never comes up either. It literally doesn't. It does not come up in the least bit when we're playing our games. So if you're looking for a reaction from others, go to your opposition's convention. Yeah, it's and see how that would go. I mean, I've been at political conventions where people do that just to see what the reaction is, and it's it's usually not the reaction they're expecting. All right. In many cases, I've seen it where it's very positive, they're not attacked as though they were expecting to be, and in others, I've seen that it's very negative and no tolerance for them whatsoever. So it's a if you're looking for a reaction, you might get a reaction that you really didn't want. You really didn't want. So again, if anyone wants to join in, I will put the link in there. One of the other issues that came up, that I saw was, all the OSR is fractured, and again, that's another one of those things that it's going to keep on, cycling, and every couple of months that seems to be something that comes out. Ooh, look, they're arguing again. It's that's going to be an issue. The OSR is going to disappear because a couple people are arguing. That's weird. It's just not going to happen. And then then there's the other stuff that's normally taking place in the hobby anyway, with whether it's edition wars or this game system is nothing more. Oh, I got someone. I'm sorry, I didn't hear the thing. Uh, Sorry about that, Paul. I hope you won't take too long. I just looked up. I just saw a little blinking. I was like, it usually gives me like a warning, like a chime or something.
Right.
All of a sudden, I didn't get the chime. So I hope you wait long.
No, it was only just 5 minutes or whatever. You were in the middle of a point anyway, so it was no big deal.
And whose hat are you wearing? Is that it says Cryptid, right?
King Cryptid. It's a comic book by Alterna Comics. Okay. Yeah, it's Pete Sametti's book. Yeah, it's good stuff.
So, yeah, it's like, do you have to be concerned when you go to a convention if you're wearing a certain, a certain company's or creators, T-shirt or something? Is that where we're going to eventually have to get to?
Right.
Is worrying about that kind of stuff? No, if you're going to a convention, you're going to wear a game that gaming T-shirt or something that you enjoy playing. Right. But go ahead. I'll let you make a point. Welcome, Paul.
I think anybody that kind of frets over certain companies, they'll wither as long as you stand up to it, especially if you don't know what's going on. Like, yeah, if I'm wearing a King Cryptid had. That was the thing. Pete actually had a bunch of creators leave Alterna Comics because he took a stance on kind of free speech and not supporting any kind of political agendas in his comic books. And he had a former employee swat him and do all kinds of horrible stuff. And if somebody
Wow.
came up and said like, "Hey, how can you support that?" It's like, well, it's a comic book. I don't care about people's politics, to be quite honest. I mean,
Right.
there was one year at Gen Con that I was walking around and I saw one of the lead guys for Eclipse Phase Posthuman Studios. He had a vest on with all kinds of Antifa flags. And I was like, okay, they don't need my money anymore. It's as simple as
Right.
that.
Yeah.
It's about games, regardless of what's going on, especially like even with your home group. It's like if somebody has a problem, not just politically, but like in their life, you don't want them kind of bringing down the group time. You're all there to decompress. So if you have somebody who's like, I don't know, just living that kind of petty lifestyle of like they're worried about politics and stuff they can't control and using that to kind of, I don't know, control what the conversation is or,
Yeah.
bring people down. It's not worth your time. And the problem is though, I think it's anytime a convention gets sufficiently large enough, there's always people who are like, well, I didn't do anything to build this, but I'll be damned if I can't, grab up some power. And that's really what it is. I saw a post, I think it was in the Fans of Gen Con Facebook group just the other day. Some lady was crying that she was banned permanently from Gen Con. And like there was all kinds of holes in the story. It's like, why would you be banned from a convention that hosts like 100,000 people a year? What's going on? And it turned out it was like, okay, she was part of the Writers Symposium. She was part of the management of it. And as things kept going, it was like, oh, okay, there was some misappropriation of funds.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
So she was a thief and she got banned. Yeah.
Right. It was, well, not only that, she was like, how dare they throw me off the leadership committee? I want to speak to Peter Atkinson now. And it's like, yeah, that guy's a multimillionaire. He doesn't have time for you.
Yeah.
And she was trying to come at it from an angle of like, well, I'm a disabled person or whatever like that. Even though her writing was perfectly clear, she's a professional writer. She's saying, I have mental issues, etc., and all this and that. It's whatever you can make up to kind of garner sympathy. Yeah. But it turns out she was trying to use the whole, well, I speak for the BIPOC community, and then they started eating each other because then it was like all the people from the BIPOC community were like, you're a white lady screaming about anti-white stuff. We just want to get our books published. You got to stop speaking for us. So it was just this huge war, but she started it off with this veneer of, I'm an innocent victim. By the way, I want to see the president of the company because I'm not responsible for embezzling any funds. So it's just the way it goes. Gen Con's gotten so large, you start to see stuff like that. I've had a friend who stopped going ever since they had Anita Sarkeesian as a special guest.
Well, yeah, Gen Con does play politics, though.
Oh, yeah.
They absolutely do.
Yep.
And again, like I said, I don't care what your politics are. No matter what, you're going to be pushing away roughly half the people from what you're looking to do. And if you're looking to sell tickets, that's not the way to go. If you're looking to sell cups of coffee, charging 20% mail tax on it is not the way to go. I mean, I'm sure you've probably heard of that story too. And she went out of business in less than a year. It's like if you're looking to do these silly things, then it's not going to play out well for you. And if you're going into, even as an attendee to a convention, if you're going into that place wearing a shirt for the purpose of being negative, you are going to have a negative experience. Even if people are, quietly applauding, oh, you're so stunning and brave for wearing that shirt here, that becomes the focus of your reason for being there, then you're not getting what you're supposed to be getting from a convention space. You're not gaming. You're not there for gaming. You're there for something else. And so you're losing by some measure, whether it's small or large, it doesn't really matter. You're losing something by doing that.
Right. Especially, with some of these like PAX or Gen Con that are just kind of big trade shows too. It's very much about the money. So why drive anybody away for whoever's perceived political ideas. But yeah, I mean, I've played a few games with Venger Satanis, and that guy can be kind of a knucklehead with his politics, but he never wore a Trump shirt or hat or anything. I think the
Yeah.
most political he ever had was like a Star Wars shirt. That's how it
Yeah.
is. When he gets
Yeah.
to the table,
Yeah.
we're playing a game. There is none of that. But it creeps in from here, from time to time, depending on like which games you're playing and with whom. But I don't think there was ever any kind of overt kind of people screaming about politics. That's nonsense. If somebody just wants to wear a shirt to cry about an election they lost,
Yeah.
come on. I
It's
mean, grow up.
it's a and like I said, even if it were just a pro shirt, that's fine. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I have less issue with that.
Mhm.
Someone could go in there with a a Harris Walls or just a simple Trump Vance shirt, and to
Right.
me, that's not a big issue. It's the negativity of one that's saying, "Hey, if you voted this way, you're an idiot." That has
Right.
no place in the convention.
Right. And it's going to be harder to play, especially with any board games or role playing games where you're going to be sitting there for 2 to 4 hours with that
Yeah,
person, and they're just wearing an insult saying that you're an idiot. And it's like, I'd
yeah,
rather not sit next to you. Can you leave? I actually paid to be here. So
yeah, yeah. Like, what's that going to cause at a table for a game master who doesn't give two craps about what that has to do with anything? They're just looking to run their own table. So imagine the disruption that kind of a thing can cause to third parties that have no skin in that game whatsoever.
right. Yeah.
Um, So yeah, banning companies is far easier. Yes, it is, and that's not really banning them; it's just boycotting them. I'm not going to buy from you. If you hate me, I'm not buying from you. Hey, hey, Max, how's it going? I am going to be on your stream tomorrow. At least I was looking to see. So 7 o'clock. I definitely want to jump in on that and see. I know you're giving thank yous out tomorrow, and I want to thank you for all that you guys are doing over there at Legion of Myth. So yeah, I'm looking forward to being there tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern time. I'm pretty sure that's Eastern time. I hope it is. I forget what time zone you're in, Max. Tell me if it's 7 p.m. Eastern time or not. It actually might be. You might be a different one. Might be an hour earlier. Not sure. Uh, just leave the pro shirts at the door too. Yeah, and you as a convention organizer, that's your call. It's like you can ask that people don't do that, and that's perfectly fine too. Um, again, that's like having people coming into your own house, right? So if you're a convention organizer, that's your house, right? That you spent a fortune to get it rolling out. And the last thing you want to do is to have people being made uncomfortable by nonsense. You want everybody there to enjoy themselves, and wearing shirts like that are not going to do it. So let's see. So Paul, you have any conventions coming up for yourself?
Let's see. We had Gamehole back in October. That was the most recent one. The next upcoming is going to be GaryCon up over in Lake Geneva.
Yeah.
That one, this is the first year actually I wasn't able to make a gold badge. I think because of the 50th anniversary, that's so many people there this past year
Oh yeah.
that it's impossible to get a room in the Grand Geneva Resort or to get any of the VIP badges anymore. It just goes very quickly.
Oh
So
wow.
I think word has spread that you can see celebrities playing there and whatnot. So the culture is going to kind of shift, and it'll get a little watered down, which is unfortunate. It was a really nice kind of intimate convention, very few,
Right.
couple hundred people showing up, and that's it. And then I think last year it was like a couple thousand, and
Yeah.
it was you could tell it was really kind of bursting at the seams. Like they're starting to run out of shirts and
Yeah.
just merchandise and everything like
Yeah.
that.
They're gonna
So
outgrow themselves and then have to probably pull out of Gen Con. Out of Lake Geneva.
right. Yeah, and that's I think around the same time too, Adepticon's happening, and that happened with them. They got too big. It was nice. They were right in kind of the area here. I'm over in Chicago, and Adepticon was over in Schaumburg, which is like a half-hour drive. But
Yeah.
now they're going to be up in Milwaukee, where Gen Con used to be, after they kind of outgrew whatever horticulture hall that they started at, and wanted to
Right,
kind of
right.
get a little bigger. So they're over at that convention center now outside of Milwaukee. But that's
Yeah, I
not too
know.
bad. It's like an hour and a half drive. It's not terrible.
Yeah, the Philadelphia Area Game Expo last year was, I think, about 500. It's doubled in size now. It's probably will be over 1,000. So just explosion. Explosion of growth and everything. So, but it's a very large venue, so I'm sure that it will still be manageable. But if that gets much larger, as well, it's going to become like a different kind of feel of a convention.
Right.
But that's
That's
my
a
next one coming up is in January is Page 2.
yeah. I think that's the thing too, though. When these kind of grow to be, unwieldy, and people don't have that feel for them anymore, they'll find somewhere else to go. Like North Texas is a very kind of small, intimate con.
Hmm.
I know Ernie Gygax is doing EGG Con, which is kind of much smaller. It's trying to kind of replicate what Gary Con used to be. I think a lot of the same people from Gary Con are doing one in Kalamazoo, Michigan,
Hmm.
that they limited the tickets to 400. They cap it, so it's like
Right.
you can't have more than that many people. They're trying to maintain that for the people that want to go there. My only problem with that is like, is there going to be enough variety of games? I couldn't just sit there playing AD&D for 4 days. I'd lose my mind. I need I
No,
need a
they
bunch
tend
of
not to
stuff.
be that they tend not to be that monolithic in one thing. But
Yeah,
yeah, so Roger is reaching out to you. So his game convention is in June in New York. It's in Utica, New York, which is darn close to the Ohio border, and so potentially more accessible for people coming out of the Midwest.
right.
Especially in the Great Lakes region, or even Wisconsin. I guess it's still not that much of a schlep. I don't know where you're coming from, but yeah,
Around around the Chicagoland area. So it's like
yeah,
I used to go out to check out Origins. That was a decent one when Gen Con started getting a little
yeah,
too unwieldy. But even then, that was like 7.5 hour drive. So it was like, as soon as people were like, I don't want to do this anymore, I was like, I
yeah,
can't do it by myself.
yeah,
Unfortunately, I have to kind of
um,
stick to the anything around Lake Michigan pretty much.
yeah. So Page, I don't know if Page was 1,000 last year, Vic. I don't believe it was. I think it was probably maybe six. Um, I'd have to check with Ron and see, but I don't think it was 1,000. Because it was made such a big deal that they did 1,000 bad sales this year, alone. So, but it's possible. Um, yeah, I saw that posting that Ernie is going to Dave Kahn. So I think there's a threshold, going to be extreme with this example, but if it's if an active Holocaust was going on, I would feel like it'd be okay to bring in politics that would make adult attendees uncomfortable. What? Um,
Uh,
I don't
no,
know. So I will ask this question: what does that have to do with the game? You know, um, it's just not in that setting.
no.
No. So there
I mean,
isn't a threshold. In my opinion, there's no threshold. There's no reason to bring it there. Um, you know,
and that's the thing. There's horrible things happening in the world right now. I'm
yeah,
not sure what constitutes the quote unquote active Holocaust, but there's all kinds of human trafficking and slavery and
yeah,
active
and that's always going on. I mean,
ethnic cleansing
when
and
is there?
horrible
When
things.
is
You
there
just
not? I mean, we haven't had a Pax Romana in quite some time. It's
right,
it's
yeah,
like there's always some thing going on in the world that you could be like, oh, you know what? We shouldn't be focused on gaming because someone is starving in some far-flung place. It's just, you know, it's like when my mother used to say when I was a kid, oh, you got to clean off your plate if you don't finish everything on. There's starving kids in another,
Starving
you know,
kids
in
in
another
China. Yeah.
country that don't have this food, and the wise ass that we used to is, send it to them. I was
Right.
like,
Yeah.
I don't like
Box
Brussels
it up.
sprouts. Send it to them. Yeah,
But yeah, and that's the thing. Just like with the election, if you lost it or whatever, it's like it's just another thing that's out of your control. So why cry about it? There's nothing you can do. I mean, well, and not just that. Why scream at strangers about it? If
yeah,
you're really passionate about it, organize something in your own
yeah,
time, but don't drag other people into this kind of pit of misery that's like the only thing and makes you comfortable. That's a you problem. You need to deal
yeah.
with it. Dragging other people into it's not going to help the situation at all.
Okay, yeah. So you know what? It didn't seem like 1,000, to be honest with you guys. I mean, I was there. It did not seem like 1,000, um, to me. And considering the considering the snowstorm that weekend too, I'm surprised that many, because I didn't stay the whole time. I was only there from Friday and halfway through Saturday, and then I left because the snow was coming in. And that's going to swamp us on Sunday. But hey, they certainly grew a lot more for this upcoming year. So it's good to see that they're doing well. It all depends on how the space is laid out. Yeah, yeah, it does. And like I said, their venue is very large. So there's, and I think they set up their floor plan, much differently this time around. So there's a lot more gaming space, and still spacious enough in between tables that you're not going to have that much of an issue. So it's looking good, looking really good for it. And that's why I'm saying it's like, you got 1,000 people going to, a convention, and they're not going there to have any negative interactions. They're going there to have a good time. And so why instigate something that's unnecessary to do? That's my question.
See, and I think that's important. What Roger's saying.
Yeah,
If the convention, as an attendee, if they send you a questionnaire or a survey, fill it out and be honest with it.
yeah,
Because I remember year after year, I kept hammering Gen Con saying, you got to organize the trade floor. There's just too many people in it. And I know there's no
mhm,
fixing that, but like, let's put things in certain areas. Let's put all the cosplay in an area that I don't need to look at, or
right.
put all the authors in an area, all this stuff. And they finally started to organize things like that to where in the last couple of years, they were like, here's all the absolutely new guys that have never been here before. So it's like, oh, cool. They're in one spot. I can go kind of do the circuit, see
Oh, that's
who's
cool.
who's here.
Yeah.
I'll check out all that stuff, as opposed to running around and being like, okay, what do we have here? Leather goods place, masks, all this other stuff I don't care about. And it's like, oh my God, let me get to the games, please. So they kind of organized it where the center is the big publishers. So you can kind of avoid that if you want, if there's
Hmm.
really nothing you want from them.
Yeah. I mean, I've had my last experience at Comic Con in New York City, at Javits Center, which was probably 2018. I think there was 60,000 people there. And it's it's just trying to look when you're walking at a slower pace than is normal for you. That's more painful than
Yeah.
than than trying to push yourself running harder. Yeah, I mean, it was brutal.
Yep.
And then to have, you know two teenage daughters in tow, um, and the fact that we walked something like, it must be like almost a 2 mile walk from Penn Station to the Javits Center, which is what we actually did. Not Penn Station, I'm sorry, Grand Central Station to there. and it was just no, well, it was Penn. It was Penn. It's going back so many years, but it's just too many people, and
Yep.
and that was a comic book convention, so it's not like you're looking to
Oh
sit
boy.
down and play games anywhere. It was
Right.
strictly comic books and then panels, and that's what they went there for, was the panels, because they wanted to meet their at the time that was um, Gotham. My daughters were crazy for David Mazouz, the kid that played Bruce blah
Bruce Wayne.
Wayne, yeah, the young
Yep.
Bruce Wayne. But anyway, but yeah, big conventions are not my thing, and I know that's where this noise is a huge issue, especially with the TSR generation and attendance. Yeah,
Yeah.
and not just the people running, but those of us older gamers are like, wow. But I'm a former classroom teacher, a middle school teacher, so I can block out voices and sound that is not in my focus. So I
Right.
never had that kind of a problem not being able to focus on either the game master or on my players talking to me,
Right.
regardless of the sound.
Well, I think it was just this past year at Gen Con because it was like 90,000 people and just trying to buy things because it's like Roger said. I wouldn't say Gen Con's the top gaming
Yeah.
convention, maybe the most attended, probably the best as a trade show, though that's starting to kind of wane because there's too many people. Just they wear these backpacks that are the size of mini fridges because they're buying all these board games, and you're packed shoulder to shoulder. That's the other problem too. It's not the slow walking; it's the fact that you're baking in the
Yeah.
juices of unwashed humanity, kind of walking around trying to look for new games. And you're just like, oh my God, I just need to get right over there. I can see it, but it's going to take me 15 minutes because we're shuffling and I'm boiling alive in here. But the mid-size cons, like you mentioned, Game Hole's really good because I think Free League pretty much made that kind of their home base for running stuff. They've got a
Oh,
really
really?
good crew organized there. Yeah, they take up like 2 or 3 rooms that they have it all organized. So they were just running
Hmm.
1 to 3 hour demos depending on the game. They had one guy who was just running 1 hour Dragonbane demos showing people just the basics,
Wow.
just cranking them out. They did that, Blade Runner, Electric State, oh, their entire catalog. They had it running there. It
Yeah.
was pretty good. And then yeah, they've got a booth set up with all they're pretty much their entire product line.
Yeah.
So there's a few companies that jump on it. I think them and the other big one is Monty Cook Games
Hmm.
are there as like their that's where they release all their stuff and whatnot. And then like Goodman and who else is there? Chaosium and a few others actually,
Yeah.
have booths and presence there. But yeah, it's nice. You can walk around and breathe and actually get stuff. And then yeah, there's a few artists there if you want to buy some original art and stuff too.
Yeah. Let's see. All right. So let me get back to what you were trying to say here, then, Maggie Carp. Let's see. I wasn't trying to attribute any current events to the Holocaust example. I was thinking, if the government went to actively harming us or our neighbors, would there still be a no to politics at a con? Um, Again, it's such a, it's, I mean,
I
I would
depends.
think I would think that if there was something like that going on, you're probably not having the con to begin
Yeah,
with. It's
yeah.
like,
The conventions. I mean, why even think about them in that
yeah,
hypothetical? If
I
like
mean, it's
if
like,
there's
oh, you know what, if the whole, it's like,
if
all
we're
right,
talking
Fallout just happened,
right, or we're in a
Fallout just happened, but
situation.
I have a game next week, and I'm
Right,
running,
we're in a situation where yeah, the
yeah,
government has
you
bans
know,
black bagging people. I'm not going to worry too much about how I'm getting to the next convention, or if we're
yeah,
on food rationing or something like
yeah.
that. Yeah,
I think it's just such an extreme example to, nothing like that is happening, or even reasonably anticipated to happen, that it's just not something that anyone going to a convention is thinking about. And I think that's my main point is that people don't go to conventions thinking, oh, what kind of politics can I engage in while I'm there at the convention. No, they're going there to play games, or to run a game, or to buy some stuff if they're going just to hit the various vendors and everything like that. I mean, A day pass doesn't cost very much, and if they're going there just to do purchasing, then that's that's something. I know a lot of people like PAX Unplugged is more of a, because people bring up PAX Unplugged, it's more of a trade show, right, than it is really a gaming experience. I haven't been to one, so I don't know, but I think it's more vendors than gaming. If I'm wrong, please feel free to correct me. But I think it's just a lot more vending going on than gaming. Whereas page two is more gaming going on than vending.
Right.
And most of the conventions I go to are, far more gaming going on than vending. So let's see. Yeah, so at DaveCon, we will have game designers with their own playing tables at DaveCon this year, next to their booths. Yes.
That's the best way to do it. I think that's what I
Yeah.
love about conventions is if you can sit down with the designer, because then there's no ambiguity. That's how the rules are written, and you learn
Yeah.
it like straight from the horse's mouth.
Yeah. Yeah. I've played in Jeff Talanian's, Hyboria and Hyperborea, and it's
Yep.
it's it's just so incredible to play with the creator of the game system, or the module that he wrote. Like I played in Alan Hammock's, the Ghost Tower of Inverness, and it was just or played in Frank Metzner's game, and it's just an incredible experience to actually go through their own games, and to actually well, Frank's game I actually survived, which was rare, but all the other games my character died in, so it was like
Right.
usually in the last scene, but still so it's a great experience to do. So yes, PAX is more about the expo hall. There's a lot of gaming, but most of it is board gaming. But there is still a lot of RPG stuff going on if you know where to look. All right, but it is mostly it is mostly demos and stuff like that, which that's cool too. If you're more focused on demos and such, it's more of a vending venue, then great. And even in that atmosphere, wearing wearing grossly political t-shirts is not the place to be. It's just not it's not what they're there for. They're there to sell. You know, so let's move on and see. So anything else, Paul, you have going on?
As far as conventions, no, like I said, yeah, it'd be GaryCon, then Adepticon. Looking for newish kind of, any newer stuff. I saw, what was it? I know Patty was pushing that Valhalla. It's not really a convention though; it's more of a gaming retreat, and that one's a little out of my price range because the
Oh
the
yeah.
rooms were like the rooms were like $3,000, and you have to fly out to
Oh my
Utah. I
God,
was like,
that's crazy.
oh, well, because they have those really nice cabins up in the mountains, and by cabin I mean this is a place that has like beds for 50 people, and they're throwing like a tiny little kind of getaway retreat over there
Mhm.
where they're just playing Warhammer. I think who's a GM, Scotty, is there running I forget what his game is. It's not index card, but easy d6. He's running
Oh,
that, and then
easy.
yeah, just a
Yeah, easy D6. Yes.
yeah. So it's like a handful of guys. It's definitely much more kind of intimate thing, and that covers like the food for the whole thing. It's more of kind of like a you're
Yeah, it's
paying
like
for
D
like
and
a
D in
small.
the castle in Edinburgh, Scotland, and in a castle, and you're
Sure,
paying
yeah.
$3,000 to spend
Right.
the weekend.
Or like the Simp Cruise with Satine Phoenix, you could pay
Yeah,
to
or Ginny D. Ginny D did the
waft in their presence,
yeah,
and behold their
often
majesty while you're
something.
on in their yeah while you're sitting there on their cruise as they don't pay their underlings.
um, so Green Mountain Con is one I want to go to. I mean, if I'm gonna I very much like you said earlier on, Paul. My driving distance is about I would push it at 5 hours. That would be like my max, absolute max. And I better arrive and go right into the hotel room and sleep off for the first. I always go the day before now.
Right.
So that's the other thing that I do. It's like, all right, so I'm going to go the day before. That way, the first day of the con, I'm waking up fresh and boom, go right into it. And then I leave the last day of the con in the morning. Usually try to cut that very, very short. And that way I get home at a reasonable time that night because I typically will have work the very next day. And so, I don't want to spend too much time traveling in any one direction. And that I'm in New York, flying anywhere no longer makes any sense. I don't care how cheap it is because to fly out of New York area airports,
Hmm.
and then to fly back in again is just such a hassle. It
Yeah.
really is. It's like, again, it's not even the airfare, although a year and a half ago or something it was absolutely ridiculous.
Right.
But like I was looking to go to VentureCon in its first year, or maybe its second year, maybe its first year, I think, and the tickets, the airline tickets then were like 800 each way. I was
No.
like, oh, no, that's just out
Yeah.
of the question. And then when I looked at GaryCon, it was like the same thing. And GaryCon is like a $1,600 affair,
Oh wow.
for a weekend. I'm like, no, I'm not gonna, between
Yeah.
its ticket prices and the hotel and the flight and everything, you got to spend 3 days there. I was like, oh, maybe I'll drive. And
Right.
the drive for me is a 15-hour drive.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, all right, so I got to get a hotel somewhere in between, and I'm still driving 7 hours a day.
Right.
I'd have to go 2 days ahead of time, and have an extra hotel stay in between. It becomes 4 or 5 days in a hotel, which pushes it up to, whatever that is, 750.
Right.
Just in hotels, if you're, $150 a night kind of deal. So it's just way, way too much.
Yep.
So that's why I'm local. If it's not in the Northeast, I'm pretty much not going to make it there. So I know people mention like the North Texas con. I would love to go. I would love to
Yeah.
go to Dave Con. I would love to go to um, you know Gary Con at least once. But they're just not in my plans. So
That
it's
that's
just,
one maybe like 1 year if you planned it in advance because I think enough people go there that you would like to play with
yeah,
that 'cause I know there are guys that go there and they stay for like a week and a half. They
yeah.
get
That would have to
together.
be
They
my like one con. Like I do 5 cons a
yeah.
year, and
Yep.
so that would be like, okay, well, I'm not going to do these other two stayover cons. I'm going to do just this one, and that way, if I'm going for 4 or 5 days, it kind of evens out, for the year and have that full experience. I could possibly do something like that and say, all right, I'm going for 5 days of a convention, and do it that way. Then it would be somewhat useful.
There's
Um,
one RV. I've seen that. I've talked to a lot of guys at GaryCon. They just bring an RV up there and stay on that. So, but as far as North Texas, I know the pain of that. I was gaming with a guy who was getting his pilot's license, and I was like, "How much is it to rent a Cessna? We could just fly, right? We'll just hop over to Midway. We'll fly straight to
yeah.
Texas. We don't even have to drive."
Yes, I know you're paying for the experience as well, but
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
there's
That's like
there's
I
plenty of local cons though.
no shade. If I had the money, Valhalla looks like a lot of fun.
Yeah,
I looked at it, I was like, ah shit. It was one of those sour grapes moments where I was like, yeah, if I can't afford it, nobody should.
yeah. Leaving an RD and leaving 2 days early. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's a problem. Some of them are kind of a little bit out in the sticks because I know well, there's probably an airport over there in Madison, at least for Gamehole, but like yeah, we just drive straight to.
Yeah,
And I know Lake Geneva, like they have one of those private little airstrips up on the mountain for like single engine planes. But yeah, no, there's no, you have to fly into O'Hare and then drive up,
Well, I
or
remember when I went
Milwaukee.
to when I went to Gen Con in 1985. We had to fly into, I think it, what's it called? Mitchell, is it Mitchell Field Airport in, because that's when it was in Milwaukee.
Right.
And we had to fly into a small airport um, after Chicago O'Hare. We flew into Chicago O'Hare, and then I had to take like a shuttle bus over to some small little airfield and take a turboprop the rest of the way to Milwaukee from it. And I was
Right.
like, that was my first time in a turboprop, and I was like, holy shit, this is a scary experience. It was only like an hour flight too, from
Yep.
Chicago to there. I think it was called Mitchell Field, but I could be conflating it with Mitchell Field here on Long Island. Um, but I was like, nah, this is, that was a once in a lifetime trip, so that was great. But I was only 18 years old at the time too, so it was like really good. But now it's like, nah, I don't want to get onto a plane, and fly anywhere for that.
Right.
Hey Andrew, how's it going? Uh, I'll hang for a little while. Well, welcome. We are so I was talking about keeping politics out of gaming, but particularly conventions. So if any of you are joining in, fairly late, I had come across a community post on another YouTube channel, and again, even if you're aware of who it is and what the YouTube channel is and everything, don't go over there and chime in or give them any kind of grief, or certainly no clicks or anything like that either. But it was just an image of a T-shirt that was a very negative political T-shirt, and saying, what are some other suggestions you have for me to wear this at a convention? And it just hit me, the wrong way. Struck me as very annoying, and so counter what, in my view, conventions are meant to be. They're not meant to be negative spaces. They're not meant to, and again, as far as the politics is concerned, I do consider having if you had just a shirt that says, this is the candidate I voted for, fine. But once you have something that's disparaging to those that voted differently than you, then that becomes something that's very negative, and it's not the place for it to be. Now, I personally wouldn't wear any kind of a political messaging shirt, whether it's pro or negative towards anyone else. It's just my own personal, preference to keep it out of our space, keep it out of our gaming space. Our gaming space is meant to, be fun, and welcoming to all. How is that not welcoming to all? These are the same individuals that might say, oh, you know what, we need to be welcoming, and everyone, has a place at the table, and then you're going to wear a shirt like that.
Right.
It's the exact opposite message of being inclusive.
Right. Well, that's the problem is like we can't assume that everybody thinks like us. We're in this hobby because we like the hobby, we like the games. There are
Mhm.
some people though who are just like they have an axe to grind or something. Because I'm part of some OSR group. I think I forget which one on Facebook, but they are all about like the political hatchet jobs and going after people. Like in the rare occasion, like the 1 out of 10 posts that people are like, hey, here's a game I thought was really cool, and there's like 12 likes on it. I'm like, oh, cool, all right. And then there's one where it's like, Zach S is a piece of crap, and look at what he's all stirring up. And there's like 143 reactions and 30 comments, and it's just like,
Yeah.
this is. This is it. This is the bread and butter for them. They live for this. They don't care about the hobby. They need
Right.
that
Yeah.
that that
They want the
neg. They need
drama.
that. They need that negativity to feed them.
Yeah. And the thing was that the odd thing is that Zach X, Zach S is from their side of the political spectrum.
Right.
You know, and he was a cancel culture person too. Um, so he's from their side. I mean, same thing with Adam Coble was from their side until they ate their own.
Right.
So
Isn't that crazy too? It's like one guy does something and then they just obliterate the system. They're like, no more Dungeon World because what Adam Coble did, and it's like, what?
yeah,
It's just that was the interesting thing that I saw. I think the year after I bought the books for Tecumel, I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. All right, yeah, it's a very different setting and whatnot. And there was a lot of people who were very much from that side who were
yeah,
running Empire of the Petal Throne and Tecumel, and then it comes out that Mar Barker is writing all kinds of very questionable
yeah,
uh was it racial superiority
right,
things under a pen name, and then they treated him like a pariah to the point where they're like, we can't play Tecumel anymore, and it's like, why? you
yeah,
know I know he created it, but
yeah,
were your games about racial supremacy and all that stuff? If
right,
not, what's the problem? Keep playing
yeah,
Tecumel if you had that much fun playing the game. To hell with the creator.
right. Yeah, I tried to, listen. I got brought back into the hobby in 2015 through Mifrog, so Varg Vikernes game, and
Yep.
came from the Pathfinder online boards on Paizo's official website. Someone saying, "Hey, boycott this game. Don't anyone, mention this game, talk about this game, don't play this game, and everything." And I was like, what game? Because I'm a contrarian,
Right.
So I was like, oh, what kind of a game? What game are you talking about? It was like, oh, this and blah 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 blah, And I was like, wow, it's only, at the time it was like, it's only $6 for, yeah, it's only $6,
Right.
for on Amazon, you know. For $6, I'll check out anything for, and it's 90 pages or whatever it was, and I was like, oh, I'm definitely going to check that out, and I will read it for myself and see, and when I started reading it, I was like, but you don't have to include some of this stuff. And other
Right.
than that, the system was actually a pretty decent system, you know and I was like, I don't see what the problem is. Yeah, if you want to transfer real people in the world and equate them to this was before the whole, orcs or black people thing that started coming out of the woodwork, on Twitter, back in the day, Twitter and stuff like that. And it was like, yeah, but it's like you're drawing a parallel to real world people, and that's not what it does. But if you want to,
Right.
transfer that meaning to it, then don't play the game. It's like,
Right.
that.
Well, these are all the same people too who are trying to say like, "Oh, Star Trek was always political and all that," and it's like, guys, the Twilight Zone was extremely political, but
Yeah,
you almost never knew, like on the nose, who they were talking about. That's how masterfully done it was. What
yeah,
you guys are talking about, like the ham-fisted way that the writing is now, not even close. Not even close to the kind of the mastery of old sci-fi and the way that they would play with societal issues and
hmm.
whatnot, and kind of ask serious questions without beating somebody over the head with it.
Yeah. No, I get it. I get it, Magikarp. I know what I know what you're saying, as far as, you know, again, like, to be clear, I'm also not a fan of instigators at cons. Well, that's the whole point that I'm making, is that, that's not the place, and not the, time, place, and manner. It might be the time. It's certainly not the manner or the place for political speech. and particularly negative political speech. That's what I'm really trying to focus on. Is you're going there just to instigate someone else, like almost like a silent insult to anybody who reads the shirt. They're not going to feel like, oh, I'm gonna allow me to retort, and get back, get into it with you, because they spend hundreds of dollars to be there to enjoy themselves. So you're going to
Right.
walk around smugly wearing something that you know that 9 out of 10 times no one is going to react to you in a negative way because you're wearing it, but you're still projecting that negativity at them, and so it's almost like a cowardly move until you get that one right. It's almost like when you watch these pranksters on, you know uh you watch these pranksters on the news, or on YouTube or whatever, where they're harassing people in the in public spaces, and then next thing you know they get the wrong person to do it to, and now they're spitting out a tooth or worse, and that's it's just not the place. Conventions are not the place for that. Like what Paul said earlier, um, if there are political issues and you're passionate about them, there are more constructive methods to do it about addressing those issues. Too many people rather complain on Twitter. Yeah, and let them complain on Twitter. Hey, that's great.
Yeah.
That's what Twitter's meant for. That's what all social media is meant for you to go out there and you can vent all you like. But
It's crazy how much people cry about Twitter. I usually look at it on my phone, and depending on if you swipe left or right with your thumb, you could just go to the for you to the following, and you
yeah.
never have to hear those people ever. It's like they don't even
Oh
exist.
yeah. Yeah. It's like, and even if you do come across something that you
Just
don't
mute
agree
them.
with, just
Just
skip
like,
over it.
yeah. If it's
It's
like,
like,
all right, what's this guy screaming about? Oh, this is all this guy does.
yeah.
Mute. Never have to see him again. It's
Yeah.
really, and it's not you're. And people like to try to say like, "Oh, about freedom of speech and this and that." And it's like, I don't want this guy screaming at me, man. I've got my thing going. I'm just here following artists, comic books, RPGs, whatever like that. And then you have some guy come in and T-bone the conversation with something weird and political or some other nonsense, or how you had all the weird. For a while, they had a run of like the e-thought, or like the AI, like little porn bots that would follow you, and you're like, what is this? And you had to shake that stuff off. But other than that, there's a few technical hiccups,
Yeah.
but the people that are annoying, you just mute them and you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah. So let's see. Big Mac. They can differentiate activists. They call it what this is. It's subversion. Yeah. I don't even think that the person looking to wear this shirt is even looking to subvert anything. Um, I think he must honestly believe that, like, he's going to get people praising him for it, and you know, um, I don't expect that to happen. I don't expect that anyone is going to, give him a standing ovation for walking in and wearing that. It's not stunning and brave. That's the bottom line. There's nothing about it connected to gaming that needs to be done.
It's weird. Like, I mean, I've
Yeah.
been going to conventions for maybe about 20 years now, and I don't think I've ever had a conversation where somebody was like, let me tell you about my politics or religion or anything like that. I think the closest I got to religion was one guy who was talking about, he was a guy from Gale Force 9 that wanted to, he was working on, he was kind of working on a theological history game based on the like lesser known aspects of Christianity and how it started and whatnot. And I was like, oh, okay, that's kind of interesting. That was it. There was never any right or wrong. My idea is the best or anything like that. Just,
Right.
this is some game design I was working on. That's
Yeah.
as close as it got. And I never had anybody who was just like, hey guys, we need to start a political movement. I'm like, dude, roll for initiative. We're not talking about your political movements here. We're playing a game.
Yeah. Yeah. I've never had a political conversation at the gaming table during the gaming time never, and even at my own personal table where when we used to play together, at the time when I was growing up, I couldn't tell you, um, what the sexual orientation was of my players when we were kids growing up. What they grew up to be. I knew, at least two had never married, never whatever, but still didn't equate that to anything other than you know they just never married, never, as far as I know.
Right.
But it was never an issue. It wasn't something that we even thought about, and that was in the 70s and 80s. It was like, I'm talking about when we were teenagers through high school, just never came up. um, when I returned to, all the time that I was with MMOs and everything for the 15 years or so that I was with MMOs before I came to tabletop, and I'm talking about, playing in groups that had hundreds of players. You know what I'm saying? It's like from
Right.
all over the world, on and I'm talking about doing alpha testing and beta testing with companies, and being an official moderator on Bethesda's Sea Dogs group, and so interacting with all kinds of players and everything, directly as a moderator on a forum, and none of this stuff came up.
Right.
It really didn't start rearing its ugly head, until, probably around. I know people will say Gamergate started around like 2012, I believe, which is a little bit before my time in the tabletop area. But you know, I would say from like 19 on, so 2019 on, and certainly it really did balloon up during, during COVID, when when everybody was locked in their houses, and just kind of dwelled on this stuff.
Sure.
But it was not. It's only something that just much more recent, and now we're seeing that it's starting to disappear. Oh, let me. Hello. Yeah. What? I'm upstairs. Sorry.
No worries.
My daughter just got home, so she wanted to know what I'm doing. I think they just brought my dinner home. So I am going to probably wrap this one up,
Sure.
so pretty quickly. So Paul, thanks for joining in.
Oh,
Everyone
absolutely.
else, thanks for popping in. I know it was really, really short notice, but thanks for popping in. And you know, uh, sorry about the rant, I guess. For those that didn't want to hear this, but it's just something I think is really important as someone who is such an advocate for going to conventions and to experience as much as you're looking to get from a convention, experience, to have any kind of negativity inserted into that, for any reason, let alone political reasons, is just something that I certainly object to.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing. But between both of us, it seems like we have a lot of kind of convention experience. This is by far a very minuscule thing. It's not gonna. You're gonna make a lot more friends going out to conventions, meeting new people, and it's a
Yeah,
much more positive experience. You're not going to have political crazies or anything like that
yeah,
accosting you for who you voted for. Don't
mm,
even worry about that. Don't be
yeah,
afraid to go out and meet new gamers. At Gary Con, I'm at a group we play every Sunday now online, AD&D. So you'll 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 meet good people. I think that
oh
it's
yeah,
the problem is it's the one crazy voice that says something so stupid that we all stop and go, well,
yeah,
we better fire up a stream and make sure that everybody
yeah,
knows this guy's crazy, and
yeah,
we're just going to point it out.
yeah,
So
yeah. That's exactly what it was. It was like, you know what? I wasn't even planning on doing a stream. I saw that. I usually try to lean in like, 3 hours beforehand before I even start the stream. And I was like, let me just get this out of the way real quick and, and just point out, because I think it's so, so important for players to get out there to conventions, and to eventually start running games at conventions as well. And it's, to see any kind of negativity being brought to a convention space on purpose, to me is just is just something that we should all push back on. So anyway, thanks a lot, Paul, for dropping on in and giving your perspective as well, and everyone else. Thanks for joining in, and as always, I look forward to seeing you on a gaming screen or at a convention sometime soon. And you all have a